All right. The weekly round, the weekly round. You have come into the weekly round. We are at day 8 of 11. We have midterm day. One of the most important days of this year. All right. We're not going to talk about midterms here in this pre-show, but what we are going to touch on a little bit, because we're going to be involved in some of the midterm stuff here later in the show when we have our guest on. Speaking of, we have our guest, Mr. Matt Yahn. I've known the fella for the better part of my life. Out of all my guests I have on, I've known him the longest. Grew up with him in high school. He left and graduated a few years in front of me, and then joined the Air Force and made a very good life for himself. He'll be on the show, and he's going to give some really great insight and some great opinions. Going to have a lot of really interesting things to say, and it's going to be definitely going to be a good show, right? Anyway, once again, let's talk about some facts. So we have these celebrities that are telling us no matter what, they're taking their followship and they're pushing their opinions onto us. So I don't know, whenever I'm on social media, I feel like I shouldn't be following people. I shouldn't follow anybody. I don't really follow people because I'm not a follower, right? I'm not really needing somebody's leadership to tell me to take a vaccine or to take, how to live my life. I kind of got it figured out by now, right? I'm guessing there's a lot of people that don't. And that's the kind of the sad thing that we need to start training. Why don't we training people to think for themselves? So we're not leaning on celebrities to give us guidance and leadership. So anyway, let's put a pin in it. Let's think about it for a few seconds. It's kind of like we have this football team. I live in Western New York, and up to week 9, everyone absolutely loved themselves some Josh Allen. The guy was bulletproof. The guy could do no wrong here or there, anywhere. The guy was amazing. Come insert the game versus the Jets. I tell you, social media has had Josh Allen's head. The Bills still are one of the best teams in the league. They didn't suit up almost 8 starters, right? And that's why they played a pretty good Jet team. Not as good as the Bills, but a pretty good Jet team, right? But they didn't suit, a good part of their starters. About a quarter of their starters they didn't suit up. And so they lost a close game, as you would expect. It's the NFL. You have to play all the games. I know sometimes we just like to give W's in win columns, but you have to play all the games, right? So anyway, my point. There's a good part of West New York that were just selling out, Josh Allen, which is a little silly, because Josh Allen is one of the best, if not the best player in the whole entire National Football League. And I'm sorry, we're in midterm, so I'm catching a lot of traffic, and I'm trying to do that while, get into, the podcast and finish up and, be here, be there. It's the part of being a multitasker. Anyway, so let's get back to the point. Josh Allen. People in West New York, a good amount of people have completely sold the guy out. One of the best NFL players in the league, if not the best right now, comparable, and I'm going to pay for this, one of the best ever, okay? Just fun to watch, an amazing guy. People are so quick to just have a reaction, not to think, not to make a rational decision, not to piece something together and make a calculated decision. Just react. Why are we reacting to things? Most importantly, in your life, why are you making reaction decisions? That's going to affect you your whole entire life. This can go hand in hand with young people wanting to smoke, young people owning a firearm, young people changing their gender, right? Why are we just so quick to just have a reaction and not think and not make smart decisions? I don't get it. I just do not get it. So let's take that pen out of the celebrities, turning to celebrities for answers. These people don't care about you. These people don't care about me. These people live a completely different life. You know what? Let's take that pen out, put it back in there for a second. The whole I don't get my own groceries. When did that ever start? That started in Hollywood, where they would hire people to go get their groceries for them and come back. Yeah, hey, go get your groceries and come back. Go get my groceries. This is my grocery list. Come and get back. You know what? Don't even come into my house. Just leave them in the driveway. Don't even leave them in the driveway. Just leave them at the end of the road. Take my grocery car. Because they have that kind of life. These people don't drive, right? We drive hours a day. Is that the kind of, and these are the people that you want making decisions for your life? What are you doing? What are we doing? It's absolute bonkers. You're trying to teach your children the right way, growing up in society. We are growing up in a society where up is down, left is right, and water is dry. How in the world we have the cards stacked against us? And we're still making irrational, knee-jerk decisions. I don't get it. Maybe I never will. I get having empathy. I get having compassion for some of these people. Trust me, I am the poster child for, hey, you know what? I just need some empathy and some compassion to let me get over some stuff. So you got to understand, when I'm saying these things, I'm very confused, and I want the answer. We need to make rational decisions. We need to be raising our children the same way. We cannot be doing this. I don't get it. When's it going to stop? Josh Allen, amazing quarterback. Bills still on route for the Super Bowl. I'll say it again. But with that saying, with the same thinking, we can't write off Josh Allen because he lost the game. We can't change our whole entire lives just because of how we emotionally feel today. I don't get it. We got a great show today. We're going to be pulling in hot for the midterms, and we're going to be going live here soon. So make sure everyone's filling in, enjoying the show. We're going to go to commercial.
Beijing has 3 goals working through the university system. The first is to influence the next generation of American leadership and how our rising crop of leaders perceives China. The second is to send Chinese students to American universities to acquire knowledge and skills, and then take that back to China. The third goal of Chinese operations on college campuses is intelligence, to collect sensitive information in research labs, especially at major research universities like Stanford and Harvard University. University presidents know this, and this is one reason why they're underreporting, misreporting, or keeping the names of foreign donors anonymous. They know what the Chinese are doing. They know why the Chinese give them so much money. They know their institutions are vulnerable to Chinese espionage. So why do they allow it? They're effectively inviting the Chinese to come in and steal American research.
And we are back. Coming in hot. It is almost close to Veterans Day. Today is the midterms. And so we have a lot to look forward to today on the show tonight. Please, we're going to be Facebook and YouTube live, because we not only have a exclusive interview with Joe Biden, the president of the United States himself, but I think we're going to have a exclusive with the vice president. So please make sure you're on YouTube, Facebook Live, and all the other platforms there. We're going to have really good content for everyone tonight. Not only when you're sitting there on your phones, dealing with the midterms, you will have something to be entertained. Okay. Today, I have a Mr. Matt Yahn. So out of all of my guests, Mr. Matt Yahn is the one guy I have known, honestly, almost my whole entire life. I grew up with the guy in high school and middle school. I've known the guy a very, very long time. When he graduated 2 years in front of me, when he his path and his career, you know what? We'll just let him do it. I'll give the reins to him. Matt, it's all you, man. Tell the Weekly Rounders all about you.
Morning. Thank you for having me on this special day. I just wanted to say that I was 2 years ahead of Mike, like he said. I joined the Air Force in '98, did 3 years before I got out because of a knee injury. Got home after just got out before September 11th. Got home, joined the Pennsylvania National Guard, was field artillery. And I was also, when I left Pennsylvania, I went to Arkansas to take care of a family member who had cancer. So I rode out the rest of my time in the Army Reserves. So I did a total of 9 years, 3 years Air Force, 6 years Army. I've been transportation and field artillery the whole time. Basically, I live currently right now in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We had to move out here 2 years ago to help take care of my father-in-law who had pancreatic cancer, passed away last year. So other than that, I mean, it's just been an adventure between traveling, moving, military, and that's really about everything that I've done so far.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. So one thing I'd like to point out is, and I know this isn't particular straight to military personnel, but I will say it, that in our campaign here, we point out how the military individuals are always selfless. And once again, you know, this is an example of Matt, you know, jumping in and ensuring that his family is taken care of, because that comes first and foremost. So I can tell you, man, you were in the Army. I was on a few Army bases, Fort Gordon, Fort Bragg. I mean, there's, you know, 3 times as many Army bases as there are Marine bases. You got to hit me with some, you know, stupid Army stories. And, you know, while you're thinking of it, I got a really good one. My buddy Smith, he was on day 1. So we're on a ship. Smith is brand spanking new. His camis still have the boot camp creases in them, right? And we are in the shop, and the OIC of our division comes in, and he's talking to our shop, and it's one of those, you don't say anything, you know, you have nothing to say when he says, hey, does anybody have anything to say? So Smith, of course, goes through his speech. Everyone is dead silent. We just want to get, you know, done with the shift and move on to chow. And Skip says, you know, hey, does anybody have anything to say? Smith raises his hand, and all the NCOs in the whole entire shop just bowed their head because they know what was coming. Smith said, yeah, over in the chow hall, don't eat the green strawberries. God, Smith, shut up, dude. Oh, you're killing me, man. Killing me. That's, you know, that's the type of stuff you deal with whenever you got a bunch of melting pot of young men that don't have any sense, you know. So I know you got a few, man. Won't you hit me with one?
I had one when I came back from the desert. We had this guy named Bierman, and nice guy, just a few fries short of a Happy Meal. He come in with the 48-foot trailer, and mine now, we had our record and our rollback setting. When you came in, you had to swing to the right so you could park the trailers along the back fence line there. Well, he came in, swung in too short, hit the rollback, rolled the rollback on top of the record, got out and goes, man, I didn't think I took this too wide. I guess I did. We're all looking at him, dude, you ripped the front of the rollback off, rolled it on top of the record, and then you thought you swung that trailer too wide. So we were down in the transportation department. We were down a record or rollback. We actually had to go out to civilian side and rent until we got ours back.
So do this. assume that a large portion of our viewers don't know what a wrecker or a rollback is, right? Of course, I've worked with my hands the whole entire life, so I can get a good visualization. But explain to them, weights, diameters, some measurements, so they can get a good understanding of your story.
A wrecker is, we had the large wreckers, and they were just like your regular tow trucks. But this had like a 20,000 pound weight limit. And our rollback was just like a typical roll. And it was just a typical rollback, which you would find like AAA has. And he literally rolled that right over the whole thing was laying on its side up against our wrecker. And the trailer was just smashed up against the side of the wrecker. And we were, and to this day, I'm still baffled. I'm like, man, I don't understand how you did swing this thing wide enough to come in.
That's like one of that meme that you find on social media where the tunnel is only so wide, but a guy in a tractor trailer tries to 8-point turn, but the box isn't wide, it's too wide, but he thinks he can get through. That's kind of what it sounds like. That's what I picture, man. It's like, oh man, you just can't think stupid. Like, what are you doing? Okay, so I got another story. So we are in Iraq in 2005. We're there maybe, I don't know, 60 days. We just got electricity to all of our areas, right? Oh man, we're living the Vida Loca. We finally have electricity. So especially the night crew. The night crew's happy because they finally have light, right? So I was working night crew, and all I remember, I came in a little bit early to get the pass down and all that. All of a sudden, boom, and you hear boom, and everyone just like, oh, we just got attacked. So I run over, I grab my rifle, and I'm starting to, go condition one. And somebody's like, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. I'm like, don't worry about that. Like, you got to give a little bit more information. What's going on? Like, hey, just come on. So a CB was at our main hangar, maintaining the main generator, and he was moving the power over all A, B, and C, phases over to the backup generator. Well, he shut off A and B, moved it over, and I guess he was just complacent or nuts, and he didn't shut off C, grabbed C, grounded himself out, blew himself up. That's why we lost all the power to the south side of the base. And he walks out, and half of his body is like charcoal. His camis are blown off. He's got, his manhood hanging out the bottom of his camis. And of course we didn't have power because we're waiting on a generator to come from, the States for however long it took. But oh my gosh. And the guy just, waddles out. He's like, smoke. It was looking from like a Scooby-Doo movie. It was do I wish bad things upon people? No. But man, when people are dumb, they're just dumb. And that guy, yeah. he was dumb. And then on night crew, of course, we're changing engines, and we're trying to, get through whatever we can get through. And we have flashlight parties, multi-$40 million airplane, and we're changing engines with 8 guys with 4 cell flashlights, just holding flashlights, just sitting there holding flashlights for 8 hours. Like, oh, hey, what did you do when you were in Iraq? I held a 4-cell flashlight up in the air for 8 hours a day. Like, oh man, that's something to tell your parents, when you go home. But oh man, yeah, you deal with the best of the worst, or the worst of the best, however you want to look at it. Luckily, you were in the Army, so you might have been a little bit better on the ASVAB score. But it is what it is.
No, we had. Well, here's one. So I had. When I was in the Air Force, I actually got put into jail for a little bit because at the time out in California, we had the highest DUI rate in the Air Combat Command. And so back in 98 to 2001, well, I had come through the security gate, we had the main gate, then we had Grass Valley Gate, which they closed it after a certain time. And then you had the housing gate. Well, it was late and I was tired, and I was coming home in the tractor and trailer, And I come through the security, or I come through the housing gate, and they're like, "You're not supposed to be here." I'm like, "Look, dude, it's late. I want to just get back to the shop, and I'm done for the day." Well, I drove through. They set up one of those,
Serpentine.
DUI cone things to come in. I drove right through them, right through the gate, right to the shop. I get to the shop. The police are sitting there waiting for me. They're like, "Why did you do this?" And I'm like, "Look, it's like 8 o'clock at night. I'm not drunk. I'm driving a 48-foot trailer. I'm tired." They said, "Well, get in the car." So whatever. So I got in the car. I said, "The heck with this." So I got in the car. They take me in there and they do their little speech and all that stuff. They had to call my commander. So my commander comes up and he's like, "Yahn, why did you do that?" And his name, I'm not going to say his name, but his first name is Monty. And I'm like, "Monty, I'm pretty well ticked and I just wanted to get home." He's like, "Get in the car. You've got extra duty." I'm like, "Whatever."
Oh my God, I love it. Oh, that's great.
So what was my extra duty but washing cars? And that was part of transportation's job, was washing
Yeah.
vehicles. And I'm like, so instead of getting off at 4, I got off at 7 for a week, and I had to stay an extra 3 hours and wash the commander's car. Well, who drove the commander's car when they required it? Me. So I'm like, well, that just made no sense whatsoever.
Oh man, I love it. Oh man, when I was on the ship in '03, we were coming back from Iraq, and it was my turn to pull chow hall duty. So I get sent there the day before we get into Lisbon, Portugal. So I do my shift. So I worked all day, right? And then I leave, and my gunny's like, "Yeah, you'll just go, you'll check in, you'll go to bed, and you'll get up and you'll check in and do your stuff." I'm like, "Okay, whatever." So worked all day, check in to the petty officer. He's like, "Oh, we just got into port, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, and I was a Lance Corporal at the time. He's like, "So you're gonna pull chow hall duty tonight?" I'm like, I worked all day today. I've been up since 5:30 in the morning. He's like, "I didn't ask. I really don't care. I'm going out to Portugal. You're working the chow hall." I'm like, "Son of a bitch." Like, whatever. I'll be up 24 hours. No big deal. So, pulled my shift, pull my second shift in a row, and we have a meeting up to flight deck. And do the flight deck. I'm like, I just want to hit my rack and pass out. So I'm leaving the all hands formation at the flight deck. It was our safety brief. Everyone else is heading to berthing to get changed, head out into Lisbon. I'm heading to my rack to just pass out. And the petty officer finds me again. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "What do you mean? I just worked 24 or 26 hours. Like, I'm going to get some sleep." He's like, "No, you're not. We have an in-port working party. You're working today." You gotta be kidding me. Like, so I pulled a third shift in a row. And at that point, you're just running on adrenaline. I got off that shift, and all my buddies were going out in town, and they're like, "Hey, where are you going?" I'm like, "I'm getting some sleep." They're like, "No, you're not. Come on." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever. I'll do it." We went out in town and, had a great old time. So yeah, that's the worst part about the military. It's the best worst part, because in the real world, you can say, "Nah, I'm not doing that." But in the military, you're like, "Okay, I'll do the unhuman thing and, and go ahead and do it. I'm game, whatever." That's just how it is. It's great because sure enough, 20, 15 years later, we got these stupid stories on YouTube that we can tell. Oh man. So
Yeah.
how often have you been back home?
I was back, let me see. I was back in September of last year because my oldest stepson got married.
Okay.
And then we were home for a month, and then we came back to Tulsa. We came back here to Oklahoma, and then we actually went back in December for Christmas.
Okay. Awesome.
So
good for you.
This year we're not going. Excuse me. This year we're not coming home.
Yeah.
So
I heard it's rough. I haven't been since, I don't know. I think I popped in 2001, maybe 2002. But I really haven't been. haven't been back. And I heard, talking with everyone back in the Greencastle area, I mean, I hear, jobs are tough to find, and the click is the same click it was. You're really not missing anything. So,
No.
but the people are still great. It is what.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it missed this small town feel, but it's like you said, the click's the click, and Greencastle's Greencastle. But when we were back, they're really building warehouses up back down there where the Food Line Distribution Center's at.
Yeah.
Right there, they built that. What was that? Hicks Chevrolet or something right there, and it's you coming down into Greencastle. Well, that's right along Interstate 81. Then they built like 2 or 3 warehouses right there alongside that.
Wow. I probably didn't recognize that faster.
Yeah.
Well, last time I remember, it still had two red lights, so I don't know, man. I have no desire to go back. It is what it is. All right, man. Speaking of hometown and everything that is hometown, everyone in our hometown are political experts, give or take their political view. Hit me. We got midterms coming up tonight. What is your opinion? What do you think?
My opinion is, America has to wake up. We've been running on false hope and for 2 years now. And people are like, oh, well, you need to get out there because, we want to legalize pot. We want to do, and don't get me wrong, I don't see a problem with it, because I believe that, there is medicinal good to this. But like values and what this country was founded on, we're throwing that out the door. And we really need to get back to values and what this country was built upon.
In your opinion, with your experience and everything that you've seen, do you think it's possible to get back to that point? To get back to the point of our kids out until nighttime and not have to worry about, weird men, with fake boobies and wee tuck coming in off from ice cream?
No, I do not see that happening, because we can get back to a point, but never back to the point, because, and not to be, not to really put the blame, but I can really say this really came in about the effect in the Obama era. And it's really taking its toll.
I don't disagree with you. And I personally, voted for Obama in 2008 because I was young, naive, completely bought into the whole change, and I completely bought into it. I really thought the marijuana stuff, I still think the marijuana stuff is spot on. I really think that it really helps people, and we're criminalizing people and putting so much money into castrating these people for nothing, really. I really think that is a problem, right? But 99% of the other stuff that he said was, I shouldn't say said, because what he said was what we want. He just made a complete division he was the start of absolute division, absolute habitual division, and I completely agree with you, man, that it will never get to a point where I can let my daughter out and just let her run around, outside in the neighborhoods. I'm protective of my children, and most people are. And I think also the point that we're all kind of have the question mark, and we don't really are uncertain of the future. I think that is going to be the ultimate statement tonight and the next few days, or weeks, whenever we finally figure out that we can count, pieces of paper with a check mark on it. I think that's going to be the ultimate statement, that we are just sick and tired of all the extremism. We just want the middle. It's not red and blue, it's red, white, and blue. When are we going to get this through our head? we're a country isn't a building in DC. It's not a border. It's not an ideology. The country are the people. And if we're not taking care of one another, what do we have? And we're learning that. I don't want to be completely apocalyptic, but we're learning that. We're learning it the hard way, you know? So it's just like you said, man. It's scary. It's scary.
And speaking of that, my thing is, you know, we have our opinions on who we vote for. Mine is celebrities. Like, for example, back in Pennsylvania, you have Fetterman and Dr. Oz running for Senate. Why is Oprah Winfrey throwing her 2 cents in, saying, "Oh, you know, she's not even a Pennsylvanian"?
Yeah.
Or you have Harry Styles, who's like, "Oh, I'm voting for Beto O'Rourke, who's running for governor here or governor in Texas." It's like, why are you throwing your 2 cents in when you're not even in this state?
I completely agree with you. And you know what's funny, because the people with any sense, right? The only people that they're kowtowing to are the people that need lead, right? Like the what's the saying in the Marine Corps? The 10% are driving the 90%, meaning, you know, we're driving the sheep and so on and so forth. But there's a good like 20% of those 90% that are on their phone, that are doing exactly what we talked about, you know, that are walking around. What are you doing? You know, get some, you know, direction in life. And they don't have direction. And their platform, they know that they have no direction. So it's like, you know what? This fool. Yeah, I support Beto O'Rourke. The dude has never had a job. He married a rich woman, and he's banked on campaigning his whole entire life. You know, it's absolutely insane. So when I got out of the military, I owned some oil wells, right? And when oil is, you know, $25 to $30 a barrel, you're just taking investor money, you're moving it, and you're paying bills with it. You know, you're not reinvesting. It's a case of rob Peter to pay Paul, right? And the only reason I say that, because when you're building it's called an AFE, and a fixed expenditure report, you put in that report that you give to an investor that you're taking, you know, basically you fudge the numbers, but you're taking 25% of their investment and putting it in your pocket just to eat, right?
Yep.
People don't get it, that these politicians do exactly that. Hey, I raised $3.5 million for you. Oh my gosh, no. He took probably 40% of that $3.5 million, put it in his pocket, and it's tax free. You know, like, boggles my mind that people will absolutely believe anything. They'll absolutely see, oh, vote for Beto? Yeah, click. You're a celebrity. You must be right. And Oprah, of all people, I don't have any problem with Oprah. You know, I'm very happy she was as successful as she was. You know, she had a very, very good following. She changed a lot of people's lives when she was doing it, right? But the last thing she should be doing is trying to interfere and push what people think in Pennsylvania, of all places. Stay on the West Coast. Stay with your $1 million mansions and all your maids and all the stuff that you do, and stop messing with these little things. I do once again agree with you. We'll take the Oz campaign, for example. I didn't pick these guys. You know, no. I'm just like you. I'm just voting for the worst, best STD. You know, like that's really what it boils down to. Which one is going to be the best for me? The one that really, really burns when I pee, or the one when I poop, you know, I'm shooting pennies out of my ass. You know, which STD is the best of the worst? You know, I didn't make this decision, and it's like we're just fighting over this pre-manufactured, you know, stigma that, oh, I vote for this guy. Well, I vote for this guy. Well, I hate you. Well, I hate you too. Like, oh my God, just calm it down, reel it back. Let's have some rational thought. Anyway, you know what? That is, I very, very good Good piece, man. You have a very good opinion, and I think your opinion is the overall majority, right? That you want smaller government, and you want the government to be making decisions that's based on your family and making sure your family is safe, not putting money in Beto's pocket. All right, man. I got my dog upstairs. She's losing her mind. When you hear the national anthem and you see the American flag, I ask everybody this. What goes through your mind? And before, I'm going to give you a second to think about it because I kind of put you on the spot. I didn't mean to. So
No, it's good.
The other day, I went to a hockey game with a buddy of mine and stood up, watched did the national anthem, sat down, and man, I always get a little choked up and always get the tummy tingles when I hear it. And the guy I was with, he's about 10 years older than me, and he went to Iraq with me. He's always been a real good mentor of me, and and it didn't help that we were completely toasted because we were Marines. And sitting down, like, man, it always gives me a tummy tingles. He goes, you know why? We were bred for this. It's in our DNA. It's the selfless attitude that we have, and that we'll give no matter what. And that's why you get the emotion. He's exactly right. So once again, what do you think about whenever you hear it and when you're seeing that, the American flag?
Basically what it means to me is when I see that and hear that, it means the men and women who fought to keep this country free. They sacrificed. Also, even thinking about like you or me, yes, we walk away, we've got stories, but if it wasn't for our selfless sacrifice, we wouldn't have what we have today.
Yep.
And that's basically my take on the national anthem and the American flag. This is the land of the free, and this is because of men and women who have given their life and given their time to keep this land free and keep this country where we are today.
It's funny, and you're exactly right. Whenever I was going through boot camp, I had and this was I went through boot camp. I left December 2000. And when I left for boot camp, the senior drill instructor on the floor above me, towards the end of the boot camp, I think we're doing the crucible, and he pulled us aside and he's just BSing with us because, you're up for 4 days straight. So you just take anything you can get. And the guy was like 6'6", only person I've ever seen had negative body fat. The guy was just a monster. And what he said, stuck with me forever. And the older I get, the more I grow to appreciate it. He said, when the national anthem plays, it's the only time there's no rich, there's no poor, there's no black, there's no white, there's no Hispanic. You're all just Americans. And you should take that just moment and relish the fact that, you're all free, and everything that you have is because of people that have sacrificed the ultimate sacrifice for you, and you just don't take it for granted. And one thing he did say, and I haven't said this in the previous episodes, he said that, someday you're going to come to a point where people are going to take the whole idea of the national anthem and they're going to completely twist it, and they're going to make it sound that it's for the good cause when they're completely against exactly what I just said. And as I get older, I'm like, 20 years ago, the dude was spot on. He was a very, very wise individual. And it's exactly what you said. People have died just selflessly, kiss their moms goodbye for the last time at 18 years old, and died for the cause, so you're exactly right. Got about 2 minutes here. Give me something that you learned today, something for the weekly rounders.
Something from weekly rounders is I learned that it's This has been a good experience, especially with today being a very important day, very pivotal day, because we talked and learned about, basically this country really needs to wake up to what, and come back and try to get back some of our morals, because I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day, but it fell apart in a very quick time. And second off, however many years we did in the military, we have some stupid stories.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the truth. It's the absolute truth, man. And I think I've covered a few over the last week and some change, man. No, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. Rome wasn't built in a day, but it fell in in a quarter of the time that it took to build it. It was to the point where they couldn't pay the military, so they started hiring mercenaries because everyone moved out of Rome, and they just ate themselves from within. And you can see it. You can see it today. I mean, Hagerstown, where we grew up, a place is you can't use hyperbole and make fun of Hagerstown, because it's to the point where it's a hellscape. So it's just like
That's
all the
the way.
other.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I just saying, just like all the other big cities across our country, they've been demolished.
That's the way. Like we actually moved to a little town called Tahlequah when we first moved out here, and that's and just give a quick little synopsis. That's actually home of the Cherokee Nation. So the Cherokee Indians are out there, and they're busing the homeless people from like Tulsa and Oklahoma City. They're busing them to Tahlequah and just dropping them off there. So I mean, it's this hometown feel, and I make fun of it because I'm like, well, there's the Tahlequah tweakers.
Well, it's just sad, man. It's just sad. Well, can't thank you enough for jumping on and being with us and supporting not only the show but the cause during the holiday season, man. It's a great time of year to be with family, and no better time of year than the Marine Corps birthday and Veterans Day. So can't tell you enough how much I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you.
Not a problem. Anytime
10-4,
you want
bud.
me, man, I'll be here for you.
10-4, bud. 10-4. All right, there, weekly rounders. We're gonna chop it up. Appreciate you coming in. Day 8 of 11, and we're gonna roll right in to commercial. Thanks again. If you are watching this, you statistically fall into 3 different categories. Number 1, you need a second or third income for your household. Number 2, current politics scares the absolute bejesus out of you. Or number 3, there's money in tech, and you want in, but you just don't know how. Okay, so currently there's hundreds of millions of dollars just sitting in a pot, just waiting to be monetized on platforms like YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And you're behind the curve if you're not just poking at the crumbs that are coming down at $1,000, $2,000, even $5,000 a month, just in posting and talking about stuff that you enjoy in your spare time. You're absolutely crazy if you're not at least trying to get some of the money just to talk about things that you're passionate about. Set up a time and a day right now to come talk to one of our specialists, and we'll be able to walk you through some of the options available to help you get monetized and build a platform. Find out how at www.carbonmelon.com. That is www.carbonmelon.com. Exactly how it sounds. CARBONMELON.com. Come, click on the link, join us today, and make an appointment. We'll look forward to seeing you. Who's getting the best of you? It's a question you have to ask yourself. It's not your family. It's not your loved ones. We're at work 10 to 14 hours a day. Who's getting the best of you? If you're watching this, you classify as one of 3 people. The type that is scared to bejesus of how much power our government has. Number 2, you're the type that could probably use 1 or 2 extra incomes to your household, right? Or number 3, tech is absolutely just blowing up. There's hundreds hundreds of millions of dollars just waiting to be monetized through YouTube monetization, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and you're kind of crazy if you're not poking at the bear and just trying to get some of the crumbs that are trickling down. 1, 2, 4, 10,000 a month income. For what? All you're doing is posting things that you're passionate about. Posting things that you're passionate about over and over again. I say it all the time. Call today. Reach out and talk to our specialists on how we can help you. How we can help you open some of these doors for financial freedom and kind of get your life back. Not only get your life back, but start finding out who you really are and what's important to you. Start giving some of that time back to your friends and your family. And start living your life. Start living your life for you and stop living your life for your job. Once again, come check us out. www.carbonmelon.com. That's www.carbonmelon.com. CARBONMELON.com. Come, check us out, make an appointment today, talk to one of our specialists. What do you have to lose? Free consultation. What do you have to lose? Get your life back.